Vintage Genetics. What is up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. Today is a chest day, one of my favorite days of course, but nowadays every single muscle group is a lot of fun to train. We are exactly 5 weeks out from the show I'll be doing to qualify for the Olympia, so not much time is left to improve, but within these 5 weeks still a lot will happen. So today is going to be a chest workout, as I mentioned, starting out with the Smith machine, not a slight incline but actually a 45-degree incline, which I normally don't do quite a lot, but I've been implementing it in the last couple of weeks to hit different angles of the chest, which is what bodybuilding is all about. So let's get started. Alright, so as I mentioned, this is the incline bench press. Pretty much the same as you would do it on an incline bench press machine. The benches are automatically at 45 degrees in pretty much every single gym. Now, I personally like to lower the amount of degrees, the steepness of the incline, to be able to hit the chest more relative to the front delts, because a lot of people have front delt issues when performing the incline bench press on such a high incline. However, I do agree and I do think that you have to hit the chest from as many different angles as possible, but stick mostly to the safe angles. And if you have any pain at all using a steeper incline, then I wouldn't recommend using it, because then it's unnatural for your body to move in that plane of motion. Now for me, it feels great. I don't feel any pain here at all. I've been incline bench pressing for many years before I even turned pro, never had a problem. And I did grab the bar much wider at that time, and a wide grip on the incline bench press, yes, it does hit the chest very, very well, and if you don't experience any pain at all, I definitely recommend it. But my grip is a little less wide than usual to keep the shoulders in a more natural position. So if you have any shoulder pain during the bench press, I recommend lessening the width of the grip just a little bit, not too much. And what that does is that it increases the amount of tension that goes to the triceps, and it lessens the amount of tension on the front delts. The chest is still targeted very much. The stretch at the bottom is a little less, but it's not worth it if your front delts are hurting, because if you have pain, you can't go all the way anyway. So this is the first movement and the first working set of the day. Now in this video I'm about 5 weeks out, so the most important thing for me is to maintain my strength on the first working set of every movement. So I do 3 working sets on most exercises right now, more so to increase volume and to have multiple points in the workout where I can log my lifts. So all working sets are important, but for me, the gauge that I have, whether I maintain enough strength or not, comes from the first working set. So I log every single lift. You don't see it in this video, but I simply grab my phone, put in the amount of weight, put in the amount of reps, check what I did last time, and try to at least maintain what I did last time or beat it by 1 rep, for example. So the first 2 working sets were the same weight. As I mentioned, I do 3 working sets in total, which simply means I go to failure 3 times per exercise. The first 2 sets usually are the heaviest sets and both are the same weight, and the last one is at least 20% lighter, if not more, to be able to do more reps, at least 15 plus reps, to achieve a different rep range and get stronger in that as well. So those were 3 working sets on the quite inclined Smith machine bench press, so we get a nice pump already. And now it's time for a free weight exercise, not with this grip, but with a neutral grip like this, with the ATX multi-grip bar. So let's do this. Now this is an awesome movement, guys. I realize that not every single gym has this bench press bar. So this is the ATX multi-grip bench press. And the multi-grip allows you to either choose to work the chest by grabbing it as wide as possible, or the triceps by grabbing it much more narrow, about shoulder width. So this is obviously wider than shoulder width, and then you know that you're hitting the chest properly. But the biggest difference, of course, and obviously, is the type of grip. So this is a neutral grip comparing to the regular grip that you have during a bench press. It feels much more natural, and it allows you to drop the bar lower on the chest, which then also means you're not targeting the front delts as much compared to the chest. You can actually focus on stretching and contracting the chest a lot better this way compared to a regular bench press. Now trust me guys, the regular bench press is still in my top 3 of favorite chest movements ever, and I've been doing that for many years, and my chest has been a stronger point in my physique for many years, and I do contribute that to the bench press mostly, getting as strong as you possibly can with full range of motion, correct form on the bench press, while you achieve a mind-muscle connection in the chest. That is one of the best ways to make a chest grow. But then you have similar exercises like this that for people, it's very suitable if you don't feel the regular bench press as much. Varying the angle, varying the grip width, stuff like this can alter the movement in such a way that you suddenly do feel the chest, and you take away those other muscle groups that were actually helping you a lot out that you didn't know about. So this bar is definitely awesome to give it a shot. Time for the chest press. Once again, a pressing movement, but these handles are different compared to the Smith machine and the multi-grip bar. These handles converge, which means it's a different kind of tension, different kind of movement for the chest. And bodybuilding is all about hitting the same muscle with different techniques, movements, angles, etc. So let's do this. Alright, the regular chest press. I've said it many times, but the biggest difference between a regular bench press and a chest press is the handles. So if you have a good chest press, the handles converge as you push forward. That makes it easier, and it allows you to more easily contract the chest and stretch the chest more out as well. It also feels more natural in the shoulders. It's just a more natural plane of motion. So that's why I like combining all those free weight or barbell weight movements with dumbbell presses or a chest press like this with individual handles that converge, because then the chest is working in a different plane and a different kind of motion that allows for different kind of chest development. If you really want the most complete chest there are, or any muscle group at all, there are some ground rules you have to adhere to during your bodybuilding career, and I might make a full video about this, what my own thoughts are, but some of them are hitting the muscle from as many different angles as possible, but also in as many different ways as possible. So from a fixed plane of motion to a converging plane of motion like this, allowing the muscle and the muscle fibers to feel stresses differently throughout the entire range of motion is just a great way to make sure no muscle fiber is unturned in terms of making it grow and making it as big as possible. So the same thing here happened. compared to what I did on the previous 2 exercises. The first 2 sets are the heaviest sets, and the last one is a lighter weight, allowing me to hit more reps, still keep my form intact, because sometimes, and actually usually for most people, their form breaks down just in order to still hit the same amount of reps they did in the first set. That is not the right way to do it. Final one for the chest will be an isolation movement. The 3 movements we just did were compound movements, meaning multiple joints are being used, the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. Now we're only going to use the shoulder joint. The elbow joint that the tricep is attached to won't be used for the flies, which means you isolate only the chest, which is attached to the shoulder joint. So let's finish the chest off. And then it is time for the cable flies. I notice myself doing the cable flies way more often than the dumbbell flies, and I used to be a very big fan of the dumbbell flies before, but I realized that the contraction part of a fly is much more pronounced during the cable flies compared to the dumbbell flies. So if you are looking for an incredible stretch in the chest, then the dumbbell flies, in my opinion, are the best way to go. But if you're looking for incredible contraction and also a good stretch, then the cable flies would be the way to go. However, I do recommend always alternating between the 2, but the one you feel better, you obviously should do a lot more. And also the reason why I'm doing it right now, it obviously is an isolation movement. Here you can see in the chest that the tension is there at all times. That's the big benefit of a cable fly. You put tension on the muscle, which is not lost through the entire range of motion. Contrary to dumbbell flies, if you don't stop before going all the way up, the tension will be lost at the top. And of course, when you have a very good pump, you want to see what you look like, because with a pump like this, and this is about 5 weeks out from the contest, so this was recorded about 2 weeks ago, then you can actually see what you might look like backstage being pumped up, obviously with better conditioning. But then you know, okay, if I train the chest, if I train the triceps, at least if I pump them up, this is how I'll look. And you can most easily see any weak points still, or any strong points you might have added on top of your physique when you get a very nice pump. But this, again, 3 working sets, and the last working set is a bit different. As you can see right here, I'm doing a drop set. After this, I have been implementing more and more intensity techniques into my workouts, which you will see in the next couple of videos, where I'll do more drop sets, more cluster sets, stuff like this, to make sure that I burn more calories. Now, don't see this as just burning calories, but actually increasing caloric demand of my body to the muscles. Okay, after finishing the chest, the delts, not only the front delts but also the side delts, are warmed up and filled with blood, but the side delts still need to be finished off. Honestly, if I am sore tomorrow, I'll feel it in the chest and the front delts anyway, which is why I don't isolate the front delts. But the side delts can use some attention because we didn't target them directly. But with this exercise, the side dumbbell lateral raise, it will be directly targeted. Only 2 high volume sets is more than enough for me personally. If you still have weaker side delts, then implement them multiple times per week and perhaps do a wide grip upright row to further emphasize the side delts. But let's do this one right now. Alright guys, this is the exercise I love to do after finishing the chest movements. The side dumbbell lateral raise. And it's always very nice when you get leaner and leaner, you can see more and more definition and striations in the body. And this is a great movement to, if you do it every single week, you can just look at your shoulders, and even, I didn't even know, but you can look at your traps as well to see how much leaner you get when doing this movement. So it's a great gauge as well to see how much leaner you're getting, especially because I always do it in this exact daylight lighting. So I do 2 working sets always, and they are always very high reps, so at least 25 reps, 20 to 25 reps with a light weight of 10 kilos, because all I want to do is focus on the side delts. You can see that my traps are a little bit involved, but you can also see they're not being contracted so hard that they are doing all the work. And that is what does happen when you go with super heavy weights, which is what you want to avoid. So using lighter weights makes it easier to get into the side delts and not let any other muscle help you along the way. And after going to failure with 2 arms, I go to 1 arm at a time, alternating unilateral reps, to make sure that I go beyond failure just a little bit. Every time I do the left side, the right side can rest and vice versa, allowing me to go a little past failure and getting even more blood into the muscle. Okay, side delts done. Now it's time for the triceps. As pretty much always, the rope push down first. It warms up the joint, the triceps even more, and it just really allows for a maximum contraction and a very good primer for the second tricep movement we're about to do. But let's do this one first. And then we are doing the rope push down for the triceps, and I'm only doing 1 warm up because the triceps are already warmed up from all the movements during the chest, and then doing 3 working sets. I like to do at least 3 of these. Back in the day, I only did 2 of them, but I like to increase the volume because it just feels very good. And this is my recommendation to you guys. If you find you're doing too many exercises and some of them you don't really feel as much compared to others, simply increase the working sets on the movements you do feel and skip that exercise that you don't really get a good connection with. Trust me, you will grow. And also, when you're doing the rope push down, you can see how high the rope attachment is. So the actual cable pulley is very high because I'm doing it at a lat pull down station. So if you have the capability and possibility to do this at your gym, I definitely recommend it. Now I'm quite tall, so with a regular cable pulley like the cable flies, for example, if I do it like this and I stand very close to the station, the stack would simply hit, the weight stack would simply go down and hit itself because it goes, my arm goes up too high. Because in my opinion, you should not go up to 90 degrees, but a little higher than 90 degrees, because then you get an optimal stretch in the triceps. But for some machines, I'm not able to do this full range of motion, so attaching it to this lat pull down really does help. Right guys, for triceps, very easy to finish. This is going to be the overhead tricep extension with the rope. Pretty much the same as you just did right now, but then overhead to stretch the long head. The one time I would do the French press, but now I'm going to do it with the rope. So alternating between those 2 because those feel amazing. So let's go. After having done the rope push down, which pumps up the triceps very nicely, honestly, to me, it's a very simple movement, but at the same time, it's just very effective. It puts a lot of blood in the muscle, which is exactly what you want. Get a great mind-muscle connection there. So sometimes, if an exercise is very easy and it works, just keep it. No need to do weird tricep movements just to get them to grow. For me, they've grown just fine on doing simple movements like this. Every now and then doing a French press or a skull crusher, but nothing too fancy anymore for me. Because if you have a stubborn muscle group, it's all about the basics and finding the movements you actually feel in the muscle and performing progressive overload on those movements. So log your lifts of all the weak muscle groups. So compared to the rope push down, this again is using the same rope, but this time it's overhead. And when you do an overhead rope extension, you actually target the long head a bit more because your shoulder joint is involved a little bit more. So if you look very closely, when I stretch all the way to the back, the shoulders are moving a little bit upwards, allowing for the stretch in the long head to exist. And that stretch, you literally feel it that attachment to the shoulder and near the armpit. You feel the stretch right there. That's where you want to feel it. And again, to increase intensity or work at volume or whatever you want to call it, I added another drop set after this movement to finish off the triceps for good. But always make sure, go all the way back, more than 90 degrees, and then contract the triceps fully, because the moment you can't fully contract it anymore, that's basically when the movement is done and over with. Okay guys, that was the chest, side delt and tricep workout. It was an amazing workout, a little bit different compared to the others, but all of them are not exactly the same, but most of the compounds always stay in there to make sure strength is maintained during the contest prep. Don't forget to check out vintagegenetics.com for old school genetics, vintage genetics, apparel and gear and clothing. And again, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to stay golden.